Now back to Morning Line. Here's Steve Helms.
And welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us today on this Tuesday, June 14th. And I keep saying because I have to look on my computer because I didn't write it down on my notes what the day was. And one of these days I'm going to be giving out the wrong date, John, so that's just how it goes. Well, we are very pleased to have the Greene County Sheriff, Jim Arnott. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And there's just a whole lot of things going on at the county, and it just never ending. I enjoyed my time working there and working with you. But tell us, what's the pressing issue right now with the sheriff's office?
Oh, it's probably going to be jail space because that's what's in the news every day.
It is in the news, and it seems like it's been that way for, what, 40, 50 years?
Something like that, yeah. And even it's kind of funny you say that. You go back into the 1930s and you see the same argument between the city of Springfield and the county sheriff.
Kind of like the Palestinians and Israelis. It's a conflict that may never end.
Well, I hope it's not like that. But.
Not without the bloodshed.
Right.
It's just it's a community issue, and the bottom line is who pays for it. And so, what are the numbers today? If you have some of those,
You bet. Today's population is 732.
And one of the interesting things that I think a lot of folks don't realize is mental health is a huge issue in the jail.
It is. There are several things going on with mental health issues that we deal with every day, and that's why we have a psychologist on staff and a staff of people that deal with that. One issue that we do want is when people come into jail, we do want them to be a little depressed. We don't want them there. And but the problem is serious mental illness is a big concern, and and we have to deal with that every day.
Right, and that affects, I believe there was an officer injured the other day.
Yes. In fact, we don't publicize it very often, but there's usually about once a week we have some type of injury. But the injury that we had the other day was pretty serious.
Yeah, and that's a shame that happens. There is a bit of an issue with the city and the county. Anything new on that? Maybe a resolution, or is it still just kind of moving at the same pace?
Well, as you've probably heard, the county has commissioners have pitched to the city to join in on a project on a temporary facility, and that is something that I've looked at to try to accommodate more inmates. And basically, the space that we would take up would be where all the commissioners and the office holders park, unfortunately. But that's the best area that we have left that I could construct a temporary facility.
And it's the only space without crossing a street.
Absolutely.
And tell us how the construction of that, because I think people think of temporary. You've got the tents that were, Sheriff Arpaia did. And
Right. Well, unfortunately our climate is not like Arizona, so we have to do some temperature control there. But it's a combination between a tent and fiberglass construction, and it's basically what it is temporary. It's built on a temporary foundation and platform.
And when you think of temporary, how secure is? Do the folks have to worry about these guys getting out easily, or?
Well, let's hope not. Basically, what we've looked at, there are several different designs. We will put it out for bid. What we will have is a very high fence with razor wire at the top, and we will. It'll be as maximum security as we can get it.
Now, how many folks do you anticipate the temporary jail holding, and how will this impact your overall population?
Well, it'll hold about 115, and the population fluctuates. Right now, we're seeing it stay fairly high, and it usually does that during the summer months. And hopefully, the courts can push a lot of people through and reduce that daily population.
Now, there's some changes that I think the courts are doing, and I'm kind of out of what's taken place over the last couple of years. Anything that you know of that you think are hopeful that will help in that respect?
Not specifically. I think we will have added a new judge. I think Judge Borthwick gets officially sworn in today, and so we're hoping that will help. But it's really tough. It seems like we grow in certain areas, but we don't grow in others. We'll add police officers, we'll add judges, but we don't add any prosecutors. And then the state fails us again by not adding any public defenders, because most of our population are indigent, has no money to defend themselves, and then the taxpayers pick up that dime also, but there's not enough attorneys to go around.
Right. We are speaking with Jim Arnott, Greene County Sheriff, and we will be right back after these messages.
Now back to Morning Line. Here's Steve Helms.
And welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us this day on Morning Line. And we are continuing our discussion with Sheriff Jim Arnott. Sir, again, thank you for joining us. And we were talking about the jail and the number of inmates. What's the makeup of the jail? I know you've got federal prisoners, state and municipal, but when you talk about the state and municipal, there's a little bit of crossover.
Sure. There's always confusion to that, and the easiest way to explain it, if you were a Springfield police officer and you made an arrest, you have three options based on the type of crime. You can either charge them in municipal court, charge them in state court, or send it to federal court. So those prisoners, no matter what the system that you run it through, where the originating agency comes from is where the numbers come from. And today, we have 462 inmates that were charged with crimes inside the city of Springfield. And that kind of brings the makeup of the jail. When you look at a 732 population, 462 are state charges of crimes that occurred inside the city.
So when you talk about the ones that come from Springfield, that's the largest percentage of population in the jail.
Absolutely, and you can kind of look at some of the crime rates. If you keep track of the quarterly crime trends, the city had a 10% increase last quarter in crimes inside the city of Springfield, where the county we had about a 2.9%. So the jail population reflects the crime rates.
Right. And historically, and I guess in general, you have more crime in an urban area than you do a rural area.
It depends, but most of the time that is true. It's where your population is. Mm-hmm. However, sometimes your heavy populated areas, they'll move out into the less inhabited areas to commit their crimes.
Like meth labs and cattle thefts. And
breaking into your house to take care of your drug problem.
Yeah, no, that is an issue. There was an article in Kansas City Police, I think, and they were talking about saving money with vehicles because they allowed their officers to take the vehicles home at night. I believe that's a similar policy with your office. Tell us why that's a policy and just a little bit about the vehicles with the Sheriff's Department.
You bet. Well, it started actually to try to increase our coverage, and it's kind of morphed into several things. But the big thing is with the patrol deputies that we have 60 patrol deputies. That gives us 60 cars out in the community. Not only does it have a deterrence in neighborhoods, but it also they can go into service right from their driveway. And we no longer get together for briefings like we used to when I started, but now they go into service right from their driveway and take a call immediately.
And that reflects how people are working today. I mean, you talk about telehealth. A lot of workers work from home, and to me, it makes perfect sense because it's why drive into the sheriff's office, and then especially if someone lives on the other side of the county, when perhaps you've got them slotted to work backward closer to where they lived.
Absolutely. The other benefit to it is not only the cars being in the community, but the quicker response times. Mm-hmm. And also, when we have disasters or any issues, people leave right from their house when they get called.
Well, folks, if you'd like to ask the sheriff a question today, the numbers are 862-9977 or 1-800-375-0056. There's a whole lot of issues that he deals with, and one of them is concealed carry. There was a new law that was passed, constitutional carry. I shouldn't say it was passed. The legislature passed the bill, and it's sitting on the governor's desk for review. But, Sheriff, if you would, tell us a little bit about the concealed carry and how your staff, I know historically you've been very supportive of the Second Amendment because you believe a law-abiding citizen having the right protects others.
Oh, absolutely. Very pro concealed carry, pro Second Amendment. One of the issues everyone knows in Greene County that because of the demand has been so high, that our renewal dates and new permits are put out 2 to 3 months out on appointments. And what we've done to kind of work on that, actually yesterday, we moved into a new space in the courthouse. We relocated our civil division, and we are now working on trying to get the backlog knocked down to where it's not 3 months. We're hoping to get within a 30-day period.
All right. And we've got a couple questions. So if you have a question for the sheriff, if you could ask that, and then we'll let the sheriff answer it. So Dennis from Ozark, you're next.
Good morning, Sheriff. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. I'm a retired police lieutenant from Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and our department was headed by a sheriff, as you know. I met you about 4 years ago or so when I was on the committee. But I just wanted to tell you that I want to call and tell you I support your position along with the Greene County Commissioners. We had almost identically the same situation in Las Vegas and Clark County in 83 and 84. And the city of Las Vegas spent so much money trying to fight the county and eventually had to come around. I mean, the parallels are so similar to what's going on here in Springfield and Greene County. But I think you're on the right track, and I support you. Of course, I live in Christian County, but I just wanted to tell you I support you, and good luck in your issues and your litigation with the city of Springfield.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your call.
Any comment, Sheriff?
Well, it happens across the nation. The bottom line is, from a sheriff's perspective, is that sheriffs across the nation are charged with running the jails. And a lot of people get the jail confused with state prisons. And the jail is a pretrial detention facility. So it's people that are waiting to go to trial. And it happens across the nation. Always has, probably always will. The bottom line is, usually most communities do not build a jail. They're not the popular thing to do. It's more popular to put police on the street, and that's the easy thing to get a tax passed or whatever you're looking for funding. Nobody wants to put money into a jail, but it's very necessary because if the jail didn't exist, we can't get people off the street.
And we have another question. Alan from Springfield, what's your question for the sheriff today, sir?
Yes, Sheriff. We are so very thankful and proud of the great job you're doing for Greene County and the Ozarks. I want to know, do you think all of the increase in crime could be with all those, must be several dozens of bars all over downtown Springfield, Missouri. It looks like they hand out these liquor licenses like they were gumballs. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, sir.
That's a great question. Alcohol, drugs, all that is related to most of the crime that we deal with, whichever, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's theft, or just the actual driving under the influence, and a host of other crimes. So, I would be hard to argue that is not an issue that contributes to some of our problems. More alcohol population density is going to cause you to have more issues.
And we have Joe from Southern Missouri. Go ahead, sir. Your question for the sheriff.
Thank you for taking my call. I had a question, but while I was listening to the sheriff, another question came up. Aren't there people in the jail serving some short sentences that have already gone to jail, have already gone to trial and been judged guilty and are serving short-term sentences in the jail?
That's a great great question, because the population of the jail is about 732 this morning. Sentenced prisoners, I've probably got about 10 out of that 732, so no.
Well, my second question is, it's a statistical question, and I'd like to ask you, I've heard several numbers about this, and I just wondered if you could be definitive. I was wondering what percentage of the 732 inmates that you have this morning are in jail as a consequence of drug offenses, the illegal possession, use, transportation, manufacture of illegal drugs, I think what are referred to as nonviolent drug offenses.
Well, I wish I could give you a stat on that. It's ever changing, but I can tell you the largest majority of the people that are in jail are related to drugs or alcohol one way or another, whether it's the theft or possession, distribution, those type of things. We have very few misdemeanor offenders in the jail, so that would be marijuana, that type of things, or possession of marijuana, those things. But a majority of those are all felonies.
When you, I don't, you said that you didn't know exactly, and I understand how this is a fluctuating number. But of the 730 people that you have, would you say half, 3/4, 25%, something like that?
Well, related to drugs or alcohol, I'd say probably 90%. It all comes back to that, whether it's domestic violence. We actually did a study at one time, our psychological staff did, and it was roughly around 80% at that time, their crime and their lifestyle related back to an addiction.
Hey, Joe, thanks for calling in. We've got one quick call we're going to try to get in. Bill, you're next from Springfield.
Hello?
Hello, Bill. Go ahead with your question for the sheriff, sir.
I was just going to ask, that last caller about, I think they're trying to make possession of marijuana and some of these drugs, it's a nonviolent drug. Well, the problem is, you take those things and they lead to same as a DWI, so the officer sees them and they stop them. There's no such thing to me as that. But the main reason I called was, people expect the sheriff to know, and believe me, I'm not law enforcement. I think it's sad that we got this big battle going on over the jail, because I do know for a fact that there's more in Greene County than the sheriff sitting behind the desk and arguing about where to put a prisoner. What I'd like to know is if his department's got a unit, for terrorism. I'm not a radical. I'm 67 years old. I've been through Vietnam, and it's like up here in Buffalo or Bolivar where they had that woman. People are saying we need gun control because of Orlando. Well, if you get gun control, if to me, these communities that want Sharia law and they want to do away with our Constitution.
Hey, Bill, I hate to cut you off, sir, but we're on the time clock, and I want to give the sheriff a minute or two to answer your question. So the question is, do you have a terrorist unit or that terrorist unit?
Sure. First, thank you for your service in Vietnam. I appreciate it. We do have a liaison with the FBI. We don't have one stationed over there. We did at one time in an anti-terrorism unit. However, we communicate with intel briefings and direct communication with the FBI on what's going on. So I was briefed on the Orlando incident by the FBI here locally. So we do keep in contact, but I don't have someone stationed over there like I do at DEA, ATF, Secret Service.
Well, Sheriff, we appreciate your time, sir. Any last words you'd like to give our listeners?
Well, I appreciate you having me on today, and any questions, please call or email me, and I'd be happy to answer them. We're pretty much an open book at the county.
Very good. Well, that is Sheriff Jim Arnott with the Greene County Sheriff's Office, and folks, we will be right back after these messages.